What is up, everybody? Welcome in. It is episode 76 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm your host, Jacob at Roachism13 on the Twitterverse, joined as always by Mr. Nick Carnes on the other side of the screen here. Nick, how are we this fine Tuesday evening?
Back on Twitter, back on YouTube, back on Facebook. I'm excited.
We are so back. We're so back. If you guys are checking it out on YouTube, I just dropped a link to, I dropped it in YouTube and Facebook. If you guys are watching us on Twitter and you want to live comment with the show and join with us, we can't see Twitter comments, but you can come over to the YouTube and comment there. We will be able to see your comments and get to them as we go. I just dropped a little nugget there in the chat for the best shirts, the breast. The best Browns merch on the market. Homage got you covered. That link will take you to the amazing NFL Blitz Nick Chubb shirt that Nick is sporting. I've got the NFL Jam, the Myles Garrett, and the Nick Chubb. All kinds of amazing Browns stuff going on over there. Some Ohio State stuff, some Guardian stuff, even some Ohio State, Cavs, Guardians, Ohio State, all of them. It's got all of them.
All of it. I would like to start off tonight's show by saying I feel thankful today that two people could be going very quickly on the road, swerve off of it, flip multiple times, and walk away from it with minor bumps, scratches, and bruises. That was scary news yesterday, and you know what? I think it's a reminder that life happens to everybody, and it is a precious thing. So we have to appreciate every day. And so I'm very thankful that Myles and the person that was with him are okay today.
It's just like, I look at that car and you're like, oh, he's got like some sprains. And I'm like, what? Like, and then you see the body cam of him just sitting there, and he was like, yeah, man, like my arm hurts. He's like, oh, lift your arm. He's like, oh, it should be good. Then he's like, oh, okay, And I was like, if I hadn't known that Myles was in a car accident, when I saw that body cam footage, I would have just thought he was like dazed. Like something, he was just like, maybe he'd had, he just woke up from a nap or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous to me. And I talked about it this morning on the Daily Dog Takes. And I just wanted to say, it's further confirmation that dude's not human. The fact that they have not ruled him out for Sunday, and I don't think he should play, but the fact that they have not ruled him out for Sunday and that dude could potentially go through that and then play on the field, it is confirmation that he's an alien.
I saw a report just before we went live that said he's going to try to play.
Yeah, Mary Kay was saying that he wants to, yeah.
So, I mean, if maybe that's something that will help him, right? Because that had to be a traumatic experience. I mean, I can remember I got in a minor fender bender on the east side. And to this day, like as minor as it gets, nobody's hurt. Cops weren't called, nothing like that. But to this day, whenever I drive out that way, I think about that accident, right? And so that's like, the way you're driving home, right? And so you're probably going to go by there like every day. So, that's a traumatic event. And so I personally, I didn't think that it would even be a possibility that Myles was going to play this week. If he does, if that's something that will help him, I'm all for it.
The thing that I would, it's like you mentioned it there, talking about it too. I had a situation in high school and I didn't flip, but I did spin out of control down into a median, and I was fine. I got very, very lucky. I spun out of control, went down into the median. I was on a 4-lane highway, went into the median, and I actually came up into the passing lane on the other side. Just the nose of my car was in the lane. The rest of it was still off. And I was able to actually drive back up and like nothing happened. Wow. But for at least a year after that, I couldn't drive in the rain because that's what it was. I hydroplaned. Okay. I couldn't drive in the rain for a year, and it was just I didn't get hurt. Like, I bumped my knee on the dashboard. Ooh. But that was it. So I think that something like this, man, if you believe in a higher power, this is what you point to. I think this is the kind of, I don't know, I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong, but I know somebody was watching after him yesterday and his passenger. And I can tell you guys that much. Guys, if you're watching on Twitter and you want to interact with the show, we can't see Twitter comments. We can see them on the YouTubes. So a little bit more housekeeping before we launch right on into it. I put it up here on the screen. We are off of Twitch now. We are now on YouTube. We are now on Twitter. We're now on Facebook. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/network_216. That supports all of us over here at Network 216. It's a $5 monthly subscription. You get access to our Discord, our private Discord. We talk football all the time over there in that Discord. I do film breakdowns, usually a rewatch of each game, and I kind of give commentary as we go through it. In the off season, I do a lot of film study with draft prospects and that stuff then, as well as exclusive merch giveaways. So if you're into that sort of thing, you can jump over there and support all of us here, $5 a month, and we greatly appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, please smash that subscribe button, give this thing a thumbs up, and we really appreciate it.
We may have another potential sponsor in the works that we could do giveaways for our Patreon members. It is our goal to make it very much worth more than your $5, and all of it supports all of us. And
we have a great team here.
And you know what? Just to anybody that's even here, it means the world to us. We're really excited because we feel like being back on Twitter, being back on YouTube, Facebook will help us reach more people, right? And you know what? Because it kind of makes sense. If our main base is here on you, if we're really putting videos on YouTube all the time, we're talking to everybody on Twitter every day, we're doing stuff on Facebook, like we should be here with our show, right? So
and Twitch was just difficult, I think, for people to watch.
Yeah, it wasn't. So this is where we'd like to be. So thank you all for being here. And so on a very positive note, the Browns won Thursday.
Hey. Who'd they play?
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
I laughed too hard and then I had to cough. Dude, it is always a good day to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys. I did a little film review on Daily Dog Takes. You can check those out on YouTube. They're also in all the audio formats. I did 20 minutes yesterday, 20 minutes today on the offense and the defense. So I'll start with you, Nick, because I've kind of given some things, but I'll go into more in depth. Let's go defense first, because I think the offense is the real fun part to talk about. So let's talk about the other stuff. So for you, improvements. Let's start there. Where did you see this defense improve? Because I'm not as high on the defensive performance as some people might be, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. But they definitely were better than they were against the Jets. So
yes,
and you can say, well, the Steelers have Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, and I'll say, well, did you watch what Joe Flacco did this week? Because it's the same thing. Yep. Anyway, where for you improvements from week 2 to week 3 in terms of the Browns' defensive performance?
Okay, well, the first half wasn't ideal. However, when you go from the first half giving up, I have to think about this. So we won.
They gave up 14 points, yeah.
Yes. So you gave up 2 touchdowns in the first half, which was equivalent to how many total touchdowns the Steelers had scored in their first 2 games, which was rough because we were like, the Steelers scored 1 touchdown in each game and they've scored 2 in the first half. What is going on? So there
was some worry in my household. Let's say that.
Yes, but you only gave up a field goal in the second half. So there was clearly adjustments made there that helped you perform better in the second half. So, when we're questioning scheme, when we're questioning coaching, when we're questioning that type of place, to see coaching help the defense schematically improve from first half to second half is certainly encouraging, right? Because, some people act like Joe Woods should never coach defense again, and I think that's a bit of an overreaction. Obviously, there's some issues, but, clearly he's not just completely lost. So I think that's probably the most encouraging thing to me is just that the defense did shut down the Steelers in comparison to what they allowed in the first half. So there was improvement there. You know what? The second one I really want to highlight is Jacob Phillips had some really roughly PFF graded games, and I haven't seen enough to judge every play of his myself. So you put some merit in there, but he had such a great diving deflected pass that Fryermuth definitely would have caught. I really liked seeing that from him because anytime you lose Anthony Walker, and he was playing really well, that's an issue. And so for Jacob Phillips to look like he stepped up, he played a little better. That's those two things: a the coaching improvements, and B Jacob Phillips just really out there making his presence known.
Yeah, I addressed some of this a little bit in something that I wrote, as well as then later in something that I recorded. And sometimes I have trouble remembering which I wrote, what I wrote versus what I, excuse me, have written, just because they all kind of run together for me sometimes.
Yeah.
But I have seen some people say, and I don't disagree with them, that you're talking about that deflection of Jacob Phillips had was a pretty game. It was very consequential because you're looking at a 9-point game right there. They have to kick the field goal. So now should they get the ball, and they didn't get the onside kick, but let's say they force the Browns to punt and get the ball back. Had they scored a touchdown there, and he would have got the first down. I don't know that they would have got the touchdown, but they would have got the first down. Yeah. Jacob Phillips doesn't make that play. Yep. But we all know that you want to get the hard one first, right? You want to get the touchdown first. You want to get, the touchdown and the 2-point conversion first. Like, it's just, it was a big deal, right? Like, so, but you putting them in that situation where your defense, if they have to go back on the field to make a stop, just needs to keep them out of the end zone versus keeping them out of field goal range. It's just two entirely different ways that you call a game in two entirely different pressure type situations. So I feel a lot better when you need 6 as opposed to 7, and it was a 6-point game, or 6 as opposed to 3 is what I meant. But it was a 6-point game after the field goal. So yes, a touchdown and extra point would have won the game, but it's still, you hadn't scored a touchdown the entire second half at that point. And, that would have been a pressure situation with no time left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really like Phillips a lot. I think he has the athleticism and the tools to be really, really good. It just hasn't translated. But that second half were some flashes. That chase down sack was huge.
Oh,
Miles was creating pressure. There were some pressures, but the Steelers were able to game plan against Myles Garrett in the Browns pass rush scheme to a point where they were managing it pretty well. And Trubisky had done a pretty good job at evading a lot of the pressures, stepping up and sliding out, and just, there was a jailbreak blitz where I was like, oh, they're going to get him. And he just went, whoop. And I was just like, no, and I was like, just really disappointed. And then Phillips gets home there in the second half, and then he bats away a massive play. Those 2 plays were more plays than I think he had made in the first 2 games. And that is trending in the right direction. You're asking him a lot now. You're asking him to be the dude, but they're going to put the green dot on him. He was the green dot when he rotated in and out with Walker. He is going to be the exclusive green dot, which I really think they should have kept it exclusive and not rotated green dots in, because the way a player communicates can be different player to player. And I think maybe that had some of the issues in the back secondary and some things like that, and players not talking. I think it was just a culmination of a lot of different factors that were just so many different factors. It's hard if you got all these things, affecting things. It just becomes harder, right? You got to be more perfect. And so I think that's a big deal. But I was definitely very pleased in that second half. But you've got to, not just Phillips, but that entire team, you have got to stop missing tackles.
Yeah. That's definitely a concern. And I think too, You know what? They were generating some pressure on Trubisky, but there's certainly questions for me. So the Browns answered some offensively, right? Like last year we said, okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers run defense is really bad, but the Browns can't run on them. So what's the issue there? So they obviously fixed that, and we'll get in the offense. But my big thing is they talk about how much trouble Pittsburgh has protecting Mitch Trubisky, and for the most part, you're not really seeing a ton of pressure on him, especially in that first half. And I was a little miffed there because I know you're missing Jadeveon Clowney, but if you are against a noticeably bad offensive line and you can't take advantage of that, that's a problem.
We're also looking now at some of the things that we complained about early on last year. There's that because that jailhouse break was kind of blitz was a perfect example of it. Is there are some issues with their rush lane discipline again, where they're just kind of falling out and allowing a lane for the quarterback to escape, and things of that nature, in which Trubisky was able to make, because he is an athlete. He's a pretty good athlete, and he was able to utilize that quite a bit. But I think this is more of an issue this continues to be the issue for me when it comes to a lack of pressure or sacks at times. It has to do with the type of coverage in my mind. Now, I don't know these defensive play calls, and I don't know the responsibilities of the players, so I can't be definitive when I speak about this because I don't know what they were supposed to do necessarily. Mm-hmm. But the point is that you saw a lot of chipping of Myles Garrett, which is what you're always going to see, especially against a weak offensive line. But you see chipping and then quick pass. Same thing Roethlisberger did last year, right? It's the quick pass. What did Joe Flacco? He dinked and dunked you right down the field all day. And a lot of it, to me, is this off coverage. You've got man corners, and I get it. Joe Woods his scheme is primarily zone-based and is going to continue to be primarily zone-based, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But when teams are using that to their advantage and you're not able to make plays, that's the result. So you don't even have to play man coverage. I just want you to be a little more up. Like there was a play where Denzel, everybody is up on the line. I don't know necessarily press, or man or whatever, but they were up against the line. I don't know if they got physical in that play or whatever, but they're all pressed up on the line, and Denzel bails about 8 yards before the snap. Now, that's probably the play call. So I'm not saying, what are you doing there? But I'm saying, why are you having him do that? Because that play resulted in a 6-yard gain, and Denzel made the tackle immediately, but as he runs that up, curl, Denzel has to go to catch up. And that's what they did all night. These in and outs, these curls, these crossers, and they're just playing this loose coverage because it felt like they were so scared to get beat deep. Like they were like, oh, we cannot get burned. We cannot get beat deep like we have. We can't let up these laps and coverages. And as a result, they allowed even more short passes to just Denzel Ward is awful right now. I'll say it. I am not afraid to tell you that he has been dreadful. His coverage grade was like in the 20s, and it's just every time he's actually lucky that Deontay Johnson drops footballs.
Oh my God!
And that Mitchell Trubisky is a bad quarterback, or else he would have had probably 5 or 6 more catches on top of it.
Because that pass to Deontay, he went right through his hands. I mean, that was going to be a completion. So I was going to bring that up to you, Jacob. Like, I don't know what's going on with Denzel Ward. That's concerning. And I'm not trying to be overly negative, but I think when you're looking forward, hey Andrew,
good to see you, Andrew.
I think when you're looking forward, you're asking, okay, well, how are the Browns going to, make this playoff push that we're hoping for? And it starts with the defense being, and Denzel Ward specifically, being significantly better than he has been. And up until this point, we've seen it. What did we say all offseason about Denzel Ward? It's not a matter of talent. It's just a matter of being on the field. Well, now you're on the field and suddenly you're not playing well. And there's certainly something going on there. I'm not positive. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at the all 22 yet from the game and like really see what's going on there.
It doesn't look so. I've watched the All-22. I've watched the regular version a couple of times since the game as well, and it just doesn't. There's nothing that I'm seeing that, you know what I mean. Like, it's not like, oh, he's not moving well, or oh, he's. It just looks like a dude that is bailing too early to make sure he's not burned. And I wonder if that has anything, like, I understand that like some of the lapses in coverage may not have been his fault, but I think that he is in turn putting some of that blame on himself and trying to compensate for it at times. Like, that's kind of where I feel it seems to be. It's just, he's not, like we always talk about, he's like such a sticky corner, right? He's stuck to the hip. You watch him in the game last year where he was really good against Jamar Chase. He was on his hip. He's playing off and he's bailing and trying to get deep. It feels like he doesn't want to get burned. And
Ooh. Oh man, we lost Jacob. Wow. Well, hello, welcome. Oh, hey, you're here.
There we go. So I think in turn, he's just being overcautious and he's letting up a lot of these underneath routes and these short routes as a result.
Okay. Well, hopefully, you know what? So they did only let up 3 points in the second half. Maybe that can be a place where you build some confidence from. I would argue that's probably the best the Browns have looked defensively for a half. Close.
I mean, in the end, I don't care how good or bad it like looks necessarily, but I will say that look wise, it's the best if you only let up 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I wanted to. There's a bunch of pieces to the defense, and I'm sure we could linger on it for a long time. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, because I know you've gone more in depth with the Browns replay than I have had a chance to do yet, and especially considering Myles Garrett's situation, I was hoping, Jacob, I could ask you about insight on pass rushers opposite Myles Garrett on Thursday night and what you thought about the guys that did play opposite of him.
Like, you know, I think that Alex Wright continues to be a toolsy player that just has a lot to learn. And I don't know. He's just I like Alex Wright a lot. I just know clearly he's not there. I think he will be there at some point, but that's just where he's at right now. Although I do think he's made some plays this year against the run. Mm-hmm. I just think he plays so high sometimes. He's got to get his pad level right, and it's allowing people to kind of get into his chest and drive him a little bit. And there's some issues there. I mean, Isaac Rochelle was what Isaac Rochelle's been for his career. I mean, I know we freaked out about him getting cut because we like the guy.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't a lot to write home about. I didn't think it was awful. But it wasn't even average. I mean, it was below average, and it was just when I watched the film, like I didn't pay much attention to them because they didn't make me pay much attention to them. Okay. All the plays that were made at the second level, I think, defensively, and on some blitz. I mean, there were some nice plays here and there. I think Jordan Elliott had a couple that were nice, and Taven Bryan early had a few, and I think Alex Wright has done, some decent things, so to speak. But overall, it's concerning, especially if he doesn't go. Mm-hmm. I think that with the stable where they are right now, maybe later in the year it's different. But right now, you need one of those two out there.
That it makes a lot of sense. So I'm hoping we'll see where, because the Browns are always really mum is the word on injuries. So I guess we'll see about Jadeveon. But we should know soon. So I mean, that's encouraging. At least it didn't sound like it was super serious from Kevin Stefanski with Clowney. So hopefully at least one of them, maybe we'll get lucky and do it. I would imagine if Myles Garrett does play, I would imagine it's not his full snap load. That's just my thought. I could be completely off base, but it would make a lot of sense. So we'll see with there. And obviously, we're as we look forward, we are hoping that the Browns can be in playoff contention. So that's why it's worth it and necessary to dwell on the defense and some places that they've struggled. However, we have a lot of good to talk about too. So offensively,
Mhm.
I mean, where do you even start?
You start with the, I want to say, fourth highest graded offensive player in week 3,
Ooh,
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett, fourth highest graded. Wow.
I think he was like offensively, he's like 4th or 5th or something like that. I'm trying to think. He got a 92, like that I know. That I
Okay.
know he got a freaking 92. And that is why today's episode of the Barking Brown Show is called Kevin Stefanski, the play calling whiz. And yes, I did it on purpose for all you little, he doesn't know how to call plays out there. I've been damn telling you. Because look what happened. We got a quarterback. Like this, okay. So this is my main driving point, right? This is the part of the scheme and the play calling that I think is the most telling of his ability as a leader and his ability as, just this I don't want to say mastermind, but he is the master, the puppet master, right? He's like the mastermind behind what they do. Excuse me, that Pepsi makes me burp. Anyway, it does. It's so bad. Like I'll get done with it. I'm like, Burr. Anyway, so Jacoby Brissett comes into this year as a career. What I want to say it's 60%, right? Like he's a career 63% or 60% passer. He is a 67% passer right now. That is a significant amount. Now, Jacoby Brissett is 29, 30. He's somewhere around 30 years old. He's been in the league. Is that right? Is that right? I think so. Okay. So what I'm getting at is you could say, well, he just got better. Well, I don't think at this age you get 7 completion percent better on your own. And we've talked all offseason. All you guys have told me all offseason was he doesn't have any weapons in the passing game. So you can't tell me that's what it is. You can't. Yeah, you can't. You don't give me that bullshit because I was told all about how Amari Cooper's not a number 1, and that's a conversation we'll have a little bit later on.
Yep.
But all of this stuff. So how is Jacoby Brissett? Listen, Brissett does deserve a ton of credit. He is playing really well as he has ever played in the NFL. That is true. Zoom out and watch that all 22, man. There are players open every damn time. And these are players I was told couldn't get open. And why are they open? Because Kevin Stefanski understands how to manipulate coverage and put players in a position to succeed. And Jacoby Brissett's numbers right now, average them out over a 16-game season. You know what you get? You get 2020 Baker Mayfield numbers.
You
What's the common denominator here, folks?
It's almost like, and I think Jacob is the person who brought this stat up, but it's almost like Baker Mayfield was in the top 5 last year of open receiver percentage.
It was I don't know the exact location, but the funny part about that was he was like top 5 in having 3 players open.
3, yeah, that's the stat. 3.
It was like multiple players were open a large amount of the time.
So maybe Jacoby Brissett won't thread the needle and throw a guy open, but we're finding out quickly that if a guy is open, Jacoby Brissett's going to hit him. And I want to hats off to he should have had 2 of those passes to Amari Cooper. The one where he jumped and threw it to him was just so poised by him. The 6'5" guy throwing a jump pass is just crazy. And Amari bobbled it. But it should
Amari catches that 9 times out of 10.
That was a 4th down conversion. That was the game, right? Jacoby Brissett jumped up there, stayed cool under pressure, jumped up there and completed the pass to Amari Cooper, even though he dropped it. Like, I don't think we can understate the fact that he's already led the Browns back to a game-winning field goal. right? And there he was going to close the door on them if Amari holds on to that ball. And I want to mention one other throw. There was, I think it was third down, and he absolutely rocketed it to Amari. I didn't know Jacoby Brissett could throw the ball that hard.
Dude, when he, it's really funny because I was talking to Randy Gursey, the editor, our editor over at Dog Pound Daily, and I was like, dude, that was a piss missile. And the second he threw it, I was like, I don't think he's gonna be able to catch it. That had a lot of smoke on it.
It did.
And like he caught it, and it goes right through, hits him in the face mask, and you could kind of tell Amari was like, oh,
yeah, like. Because Jacob and I were at camp frequently. You did not see Jacoby throwing missiles like that.
No.
And
he's got an arm. He's got an arm, but that was not something I saw on the regular. No.
Yeah. So I mean, Jacoby is just, and aside from the one interception when they were trying to desperately come back against the Jets, he has protected the ball. You're not finding all those fumble issues, right? And I think you're seeing someone who is taking advantage of an offensive line that's providing him great time. He's standing back there. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's calm in the pocket. Jacoby's doing all those things that we were just so desperate for Baker Mayfield to do last year. And maybe physically, I'm not trying to dwell on Baker. Maybe physically he just couldn't do it. He broke down mentally, whatever. But the point of bringing Baker up is last year, the prevailing thought was if Baker could just be average, the Browns would be winning these games. And what you're seeing right now is, and all the grades tell you Jacoby's playing way better than that. But Jacoby, his numbers aren't off the charts. They're not Josh Allen sexy, Patrick Mahomes sexy passing numbers, but
they're incredibly efficient. The Browns there's only two teams that are more efficient right now in EPA, and that's the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are the only teams that have a more efficient offense than the Cleveland Browns right now.
You don't need 50 pass attempts if you're going to complete so many of them, because I know his current completion percent's around 66%, but I think he was much higher against the Steelers. Maybe not much higher, but higher. So he doesn't need all the opportunities if when he gets them, Jacoby's using them and completing passes and not taking. And that's the thing. Maybe Jacoby's not putting up 400 passing yards, but he's not fumbling it and throwing interceptions that are so negative.
It's also about situations. And I see, so there's some comments, there's some questions over here, and I'm going to get to those in just a second. But Nick brings up a really good point, because when we talk about Baker Mayfield's, when we talked about some of his turnovers last year, in terms of raw turnover numbers, he wasn't Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions. It was less than 20, but it was the timing of them, right? Yeah. It was in crucial moments when he needed to make a play. He often made a negative play, where the Browns have turned the foot. This is my favorite stat. The Browns have this many turnovers in 3 games combined.
Wow.
One turnover, and that is an interception that Brissett threw with no time left against the Jets, desperation. I think that if he had thrown a better ball, Cade would have got it shot. I think Njoku was open. I just think he didn't put enough air under it, and I don't think he saw the one safety there, because that the guy that made the interception. But that I digress. But it's just the efficiency. It's the lack. We said play good defense, which they're not doing, but we said be efficient and don't turn the football over. And you turned it over one time, and you're 2-1, and you should be 3-0. And that's why, because when Jacoby struggled in week 1, they didn't turn the ball over. Now he's got better timing and better rhythm and a better repertoire with all the players that are out there, and he's still not turning it over. And because of all of that, that's where we are. So I got 2 questions that are a couple statements over here that I want to catch up on, and then we have 2 players to talk about that I want to talk about, and then if you got anything else that I don't cover, we will go there. And Drew's second point over here in the comments is something that I want to get. Guys, if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Please give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. It helps us get out there in front of more people. It helps us grow. So I really appreciate it if you're on the YouTube. If you are on Twitter and you want to comment, head over to the YouTube page, the Network 216 YouTube page, and we can see your comments over there. Or on Facebook. We can see those too. Anyway, yeah, so Curtis Weaver was re-signed to the practice squad.
Okay.
I think that was just something that obviously you had to bring someone just in case.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm of the don't play him. I wouldn't play him. I just wouldn't play him. But it's not my body, not my decision.
Yep.
When will it click for Bell? He's not getting targets. You're looking at an offense that is wanting to throw the ball probably less than 30 times a game. And right now he's leaning on his top two guys.
And especially when, and we'll talk about him, but especially when David Njoku is getting as involved as he is, there's just not enough past attempts to make all these guys look good.
They're not going to throw it 45, 50 times.
They won't.
And they're going to, everybody that wants to know why they don't run the ball, they've run the ball over 30 times in all 3 games. And as a result, they can't feed it. I think Bell's fine. I don't see anything. I think that a lot of us, and I probably fed into plenty of it, kind of we put our expectations were too high for David Bell, not because he can't play, but because in the first 11 games, he's going to be in an offense that isn't going to put up air raid throw numbers.
Yeah.
And he's not getting targets. It's not like he's not dropping the passes and he's not getting open. He is, but I mean, Amari's just absolutely cooking dudes, and that's where Jacoby's going, and I'm fine with that. And that's where he should be going. So Drew and I go back and forth, right? We've had our arguments about David Njoku in the offseason and over, but always very respectful and between the two of us. And he said he will eat some crow on Njoku if he sees more down the road. I said this in the Daily Dog Takes. I'll reiterate it here, and I'll let Nick speak on it, and then we'll move to Amari because I wrote on Amari today for Dog Pound Daily. You can go over and check that out. I was one of the – sometimes you get a piece for a podcast. Sometimes you get a podcast segment, or sometimes you write a piece in which you just have absolutely way too much fun doing it. And the Amari piece that I wrote today is there. I have one in the back burners for a couple of weeks later about David Njoku, and I got ripped apart on Dog Pound Daily for saying he deserved every penny. And boy, don't
Me too.
think I have some damn receipts, and I'm coming for you. Anyway, that is what David Njoku should be. Mm-hmm. Thursday night is what he should be. A safety blanket that can understand zone coverage, where to sit in the zone. And they weren't just playing zone, but I think that a lot of the plays that he exploited were zone coverage situations. So he gets in this position, he exploits it, and he sits down in the hole, and the hole in the zone coverage, he gets it, he turns around, he runs it, and then that touchdown. Having a player that can climb the ladder like that, not many defensive backs, linebackers, safeties, corners, not many are going to be able to go up with a man that size and get the ball knocked away. So Brissett puts this ball where we hear it all the time. What does a great quarterback do? You put the ball where only your guy can get it. And that was a perfect example. And that was a perfect example of what Njoku should be in the red zone. And that is what he needs to do. He can be explosive. He can get vertical. But his main, in my opinion, the athleticism, the main aspect of what he should be focused on is 50-50 ball situations and trying to create yards after the catch, because he can pull away from people, right? Here, MC's saying it. He gets a lot of attention from defenses, whether he puts the numbers up or not. Yes, when he's able to do things like that, that Atlanta has shown that clip in practice already this week. Because a player that can do that sort of thing, it's not easy to find one. Yeah. So David showed you exactly what I think he can be, and he's got to string more of these games together. But him being able to draw attention away from Amari especially is going to be crucial if this offense is going to continue to be efficient.
I was listening to a radio interview today, and basically what they said is that Tomlin was being really stubborn about the scheme he wanted to run defensively, and what the base defense that they run was what the Browns started to take advantage of with Njoku. And the reason you saw Njoku get targeted so many times in a row is because Tomlin was not changing anything. He was not respecting what David Njoku can do because he hasn't seen it, right? Because we knew Njoku was open before, but we weren't able to exploit it. Well, Jacoby, it's no secret, and I tweeted about this before the season. Half of Jacoby Brissett's touchdown passes the last time he was a starter went to tight ends. Went to his tight ends in Indianapolis. Jacoby Brissett loves tight ends. And so if you're going to let David Njoku pick on defenders who have no shot of covering him, Jacoby's going to make you pay. And I think that's a huge statement for our next matchup with the Steelers. And I think it's a huge statement moving forward offensively, because last year when the offense truly broke down, it was because Baker Mayfield could no longer make defenses pay for selling out elsewhere. Jacoby Brissett made the defense pay, and that is all the credit in the world to David Njoku, because so he was amazing last year against the Chargers. But if this performance on Thursday wasn't his best performance, it's second only to that. And I think but regardless, I've never seen them just target him so many straight times and just advantage. That's
so many of them were the same route, and I'm like, well, you're just gonna keep giving it to me, man. Like,
sure. Fine.
That's like, I do that sometimes in Madden. Like, oh my God, Madden, you know what's broken in Madden this year? A quick slant to Amari Cooper. That motherfucker is open every time. And like, sometimes it depends. If they're on press, you need to give it a second. You can't throw it right away. But if you stop, it don't matter who, go under center, take the snap, step, fire a bullet in there, bam, 8-10 yards every time. So if it's fourth down and less than 5, I'm going to go for it, call that play. If it's 3rd and goal, I'm going to call that play. And I'm just like, but that was like a real life situation like that, where it was just, it was repetitive. You were like, oh, so you're going to give me an underneath 7-yard route with a really big athletic tight end that can break some tackles. Yeah, I'm going to take it every single time. And I don't care why. I don't care why. I'm just going to play it, and I will ride it to the end.
At this point, it's honestly like watching the Browns offense from last year, but this time it's successful. Like, it's not
that much different. No.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Stefanski took so much heat for an offense that we're now seeing legitimately hum.
We said this over and over, like, well, some of us, that it was schemed open players, and we just needed a quarterback that could hit the throws that he's supposed to make.
Yep.
And I understand they went for the fences with Watson, and Watson isn't just a quarterback that can hit the plays he's supposed to make. He is a creator. Mm-hmm. But they were never bringing, and I hate to break it to people, they were never bringing Baker Mayfield back. Worst QBR in the NFL, by the way. Was never bringing Baker Mayfield back. And I heard Chops say today, and he said it, and I went, no. And then I went, well, he said, if they didn't get Watson, I'm not so sure they wouldn't have tried to ride with Brissett this whole year. And I'm like, because they told us all offseason they liked him. And I mean, we were like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to say, right? You're supposed to say, oh, yeah, we like the guy. He's, we like him, whatever. And now it's like, man, we said this all. Just take what they give you. Just make the plays. Just be efficient. Just manage the game. And he's doing that, and then some. I think he is better than that in than just a manager these first 2 games. The first game, he was kind of a manager, I think he was worse than some people say he was. I just think there was just a lot of things they needed to improve on, which they did improve on.
Yep.
But yeah, So I'm just kind of going back and forth and just kind of trying to think about all of it. But it's just
he's improving.
This system, this play calling. I don't understand how you continue to watch this and say that he doesn't know what he can't call plays.
Which, I mean,
they said he couldn't call plays. They said he couldn't call plays in the Jets game when Jacoby Brissett led offense dropped 30.
Well, they also said that Kevin Stefanski's offense could not handle a number one wide receiver, which is the perfect transition to the only wide receiver since Josh Gordon in 2013 to have back-to-back 100-yard receiving games.
With a touchdown.
With a touchdown. Sorry. But think about that for a second. Like how, like that's like that meme. Like our expectations were low, but holy
shit.
Like, good God. I mean, Amari. And so you credit Amari, you credit Jacoby, however, and I know Jake, you're getting into something you feel very strongly about.
Oh, yeah.
But the Browns have a wide receiver one. Wide receiver one.
That's beautiful.
It's it's so weird to just watch passes just go where they're supposed to. Oh my God. Go ahead. The flip side to that is a wide receiver who has had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons that has 83 yards through 3 games. That's the flip side over there of our friend in Carolina. And I don't mean to pick on him, but the point is we're learning new information. The wide receiver one killer is not Kevin Stefanski's system.
The point about Baker that I'll say, and I'll leave it alone. I have seen people think that DJ Moore is the problem. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember being a part of that problem last year.
DJ Moore produced with Brandon Allen as his quarterback.
DJ Moore produced with PJ Walker as his quarterback.
Oh, my God. PJ AFL.
Sam Darnold.
Come on, man.
He produced with Sam Darnold.
Amari Cooper is producing at wide receiver one level with Jacoby Brissett on the flip side of that. So I think both Jacob and I got really tired of listening to people say Kevin Stefanski had no idea what he was doing offensively. Just
because you couldn't back it up with legitimate facts other than but Baker was elite. Yeah, okay.
Well.
Amari is so freaking good. So I wrote an article about this. If you are a young wide receiver and you're like, hey, man, I'm not the greatest athlete, and that's not a knock on Amari, but what I'm saying is he's not a 4.2 guy. He's a heck of an athlete. I should say if you're not the fastest, he is a really good athlete. If you're not the fastest, you can still burn people. You can still cook them. I mean, he didn't have the stats in week 1, but go just watch J.C. Horn, who I think is a very good young corner, just be put in a blender play after play. And then the timing comes week 2, and the timing's there week 3. Oh, my goodness. 101 yards back-to-back, touchdown in both of them. It's what do you need if you're not Jacoby's a limited player at quarterback? What do you need? You need a dude that you can rely on always. And Amari Cooper is exactly that. No matter the down, the distance, the situation, the yardage, what they need, Amari Cooper can get it. And, and he'll tell you, I guarantee Amari will say, I should have had those 2 I didn't have. And I guarantee you, if you do it again, if he realized that piss missile was coming, you're like, oh shit! Put his hands a little further away so it doesn't hit him in the face. No. He's not dropping that 4th down one again. I think Brissett throws it a little bit behind him. I think he tried to adjust to it, and I think it came in real weird. I don't know. But I will never there is a play. Let me see if I can find it here because it was in the article, and I want you guys. I want to play it here on the show.
And
See if I can find it real quick. But there's this play that Amari did, a route that he ran. I'm waiting for it to load here. So he ran this route, and this was a pass in which he falls. He does get this throw. He manages to get this throw. So this is from my article. I put it in my article. If you guys want to check it out at dogpounddaily.com, and I will show it right here. But this is just what I mean when I'm saying, like, just look at this ridiculousness. I had to put it in the article so that we could see it. So in this play here, he's going to cook this defensive back, fall down, get up, toe tap, and catch the football. Just is it big enough on the screen? I think it's big enough on the screen.
Yeah, I think you can tell.
I chose Upstart because I was on financial aid for school. It did run out. Once I found Upstart, I was kind of relieved that they're interested in my background. They were
and he just rolls
more than just my credit score. I was able to get my money fast.
He's like, what? Like,
he is awesome. Hey, Jacob, what did the Browns give up to get Amari Cooper?
I've written on that too. Our website has very, very strongly written about the tweets. The tweets when on last night when the Cowboys were playing, and people are like, you gave up a 5 for that dude.
Oops.
A 5. And he's making less money than Christian Kirk, who did have a good game, by the way. Christian Kirk is playing pretty well in that Doug Peterson-led offense, and I really, really like what's going. Jacksonville might win that damn division down there. I'm not even kidding, because that division is dog shit. And Jacksonville's not that bad. They're not that bad. I like Doug Peterson. He's doing pretty good job.
But I just, you know what, with Amari, it's just crazy. It's crazy to see it work so successfully, because I think, you know what, and I want to credit Nick Padone tweeted out, Amari Cooper is who we thought Odell Beckham was going to be in this Browns offense. And no disrespect to Odell or his talent or anything. Obviously, it just didn't work. But when we got Odell, we're like, we really have a difference maker here. Amari Cooper's that guy. He's making a difference. And David Njoku, I mean, he did as well. There's just there's not enough credit to go around. It's amazing what happens, because so many of these storylines, we said, oh well,
we traded a ham sandwich for Amari Cooper.
We sure did. We always said, oh well, David Njoku, he's this freak. He could be so good. The Browns could take advantage, and you never saw it, and that's why so many people doubted it, right? And now I know it was one game, but we're seeing it, and everyone's like, well, Kevin Stefanski's offense is just not suited to alpha wide receivers. He just wants all these Joes out there receiving, and that's really the key.
Why in the hell would you not want talented players out there?
What? Yeah, we're like, oh, is Odell Beckham too big for Kevin Stefanski's system? And
just screw those players are good at this sport. I'll just take a regular guy. See.
So it's really nice. It's really, really nice to see definitive proof that Kevin Stefanski's system always was a great one. The Browns are so lucky to have him. The Browns are so lucky to have Andrew Berry giving up 5th round picks for Amari Cooper and Kevin Stefanski just scheming us to victory. So,
and I haven't said it. Fuck the Steelers.
Fuck the Steelers. We beat the Steelers, man. The Steelers. It doesn't feel real that it was the Steelers. We beat the Steelers. Like, you know, and we haven't seen Kenny Pickett yet, but it's just like, no matter what happen. The Steelers just would not just stop being consistently decent, good, whatever. They just wouldn't be. And it looks like finally, the bottom might fall out. And I just, I'm gonna drink it in. I'm gonna drink it. I'm gonna douse myself in the downfall of the Steelers. I will. Oh, no more of the. Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season, and the old Ben Roethlisberger swept the Browns, and blah 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 blah. I can't do it again. And all the respect in the world to Mike Tomlin, great coach. Obviously, he's a great coach. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. So if they could just go like 5-12, that would be just wonderful. Good 5-12, just one. You know, we did it for like 2 decades. Just one 5-12, right? And then it'll be fine.
I just laugh because I could feel the pain. guys, we are going to wrap this thing up. If you're on YouTube, I know I've said it a bunch of times, the subscribe button, the like, it helps us out immensely. If you guys want access to some exclusive content and directly support the network, we had the subs while we were on Twitch, but now we have moved over to the Patreon. So you have patreon.com/network_216. $5 a month. We've got a private Discord where we haven't set it up yet. But we will be chatting football all day in that private Discord. You have my film reviews, which right now are just reviews of each game, rewatch, and we sit down and we break that all down, and then as well as exclusive giveaways.
Keep in mind, we have a whole network behind this Patreon now. So Jacob and I are going to give you extra. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to give extra. But we have many more people that are going to be doing unique and interesting things for our patrons, because now it's going to be the entire network. So we're really excited about that. We're still in the planning phase. Like
there could be some tiers. There might be like a $10 tier and some things like that where it gets to be even more sort of thing.
We've got a lot of talented people at the network, and we're just figuring out how to tap in and really maximize it. But Jacob, I would be remiss. I just need a minute here, because I'm giving away what I'm selling tomorrow tweet wise, and I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you know who leads the NFL in rushing?
It's Nick Chubb.
It's Nick Chubb. Do you know who leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns?
It's also Nick Chubb.
It's also Nick Chubb. And man, he finally, you know what? Chubb killed the Steelers in the playoffs. He killed.
Hey, do you know who leads the league in forced missed tackles?
Is it Nick Chubb?
It's Nick Chubb.
Do you know who has the most 100-yard rushing games since 2018, the year Nick Chubb entered the NFL?
Nick Chubb.
It's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb. I cannot express and put into words, and it would be remiss if I did not respect the man who, you know what? Nick Chubb has succeeded and been so great for so long with rough quarterback play, rough offensive lines, rough all of it. And now I think for the first time in his career, and credit to him for still being elite in going on his 5th year in the NFL now, I think this is the year that Nick Chubb he could win the rushing title this year. Nick Chubb could finally win his rushing title. And I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy that he doesn't have to overcome all of this slop around him. He is playing with competent offense, and you're seeing Nick Chubb and he's getting his carries, but he's not getting Derrick Henry carries. He doesn't need them. He can lead the league in rushing, be the most efficient rusher in football, and just this dynamic, amazing talent with just the slightest bit of help around him. I can't get over how good he is. I can't. And Kareem Hunt, I haven't even gotten him. He's amazing. And I know we're not trying to linger for too long, but it's really fun to talk about the Browns when they win games. Oh God, I love Nick Chubb. Do you have anything you want to add to the 2 of them, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt?
Nah, man, that's perfect.
I think it's pretty well said there. So it's been great to be back on Twitter. It's been great to be with you, Jacob. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I see we got all kinds of comments. I'm sorry we didn't get to more. You were all wonderful. We appreciate it more than you realize. We can't wait for what's coming with Network 216. I can't spill the beans. No bean spilling. But this has been episode 76 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. Wow, he's Jacob over there in his weird spot today.